The Tsarn Empire was strong. It ruled over 1,000 star systems. Its power came from fear, war, and control. No ship entered its space without permission. Along its borders, the Empire had thousands of watch stations. These stations had sensors that could see everything: ships, comets, even space dust. Nothing could pass without being seen, or so they believed. Watch Station X-12 sat near the edge of the Empire. It was a quiet post, usually boring. Captain Relka and her crew had worked there for 5 years. Every day was the same check: the scanners, report nothing, eat, sleep, repeat. But one day something changed, something that would shake the entire Empire. It started with a sensor ping, a soft beep, then another. The crew leaned in. "Unknown signal approaching," the scanner officer said. "No ID code, no energy signature, no engine trail." That was strange. All ships had ID codes, even smugglers. All ships made noise, even dead ones. But this one was silent. Captain Relka looked at the screen. A black shape moved slowly across the stars. It didn't shine. It didn't glow. It was like a shadow, darker than space itself. "Try to hail it," she said. No reply. "Scan it deeper," she ordered. The scanner glitched for a second. Then the screen froze. Relka frowned. "Reboot the system." They tried. Nothing worked. The ship was still there, floating closer. "Send a patrol ship to investigate," she said. 2 small cruisers launched toward the unknown object. The crew watched the screens. The cruisers reached the target. Then, silence. No video, no sound. The ships vanished. Not destroyed, just gone. Alarms started to ring. The Empire had strict rules: if any ship disappears, report it at once. Captain Relka sent a full report to Central Command. She waited for orders. 2 hours passed. Then a message came. "Hold position. Do not engage. Reinforcements on the way." By now, fear had spread across the station. Crew members whispered to each other. "What is it? Is it a weapon? Is it alive?" No one had answers. They could only watch as the black ship continued to move, slow, steady, and silent. Relka checked the long-range scans. The ship wasn't just floating. It was choosing a path, a direct line through the Empire's heart. "Where is it going?" she asked. No one knew. One officer guessed it might be heading to the core worlds. Another said maybe it's searching for something. Relka only stared at the silent object and said, "Whatever it's doing, it doesn't care. We're watching." Suddenly, all the power on the station flickered. Lights dimmed. Screens blinked. For 10 seconds, everything went dark. When systems came back online, the black ship was gone. Just gone. Not destroyed, not jumped. Vanished. No energy spike. No signal. Space was empty again. Captain Relka checked with nearby watch stations. They saw nothing. Scanners showed clear. It was like the ship had never existed. But Relka knew what she saw. She looked at the empty screen and whispered, "It's still out there." The report she sent reached the highest levels of the Empire. At first, the rulers laughed. "A ghost ship?" They said, "Impossible." But then the missing patrol ships were confirmed. Then, the data showed the scanners were fried, as if touched by something cold. Finally, Watch Station X-12 went completely silent. When another team was sent to check the station, they found nothing. No ship, no bodies, no wreckage. The station floated in space, empty and dead, as if everyone had simply vanished. It was the 3rd time in Empire history that an entire watch station had gone offline without a fight. Now, even the High Lords of the Empire began to worry. Something had entered their space. Something powerful. Something quiet. It did not ask. It did not warn. It simply came. In secret, the Emperor called a meeting with the War Council. "If it is a ship, we will destroy it," one general said. "If it is a weapon, we will block." "It," said another. But one old admiral spoke softly. What if it is not just a ship? What if it's a message? Everyone paused. The idea was strange. Why would a message come like this, dark, deadly, and silent? The Emperor leaned forward. Find out what it is, and stop it. But no one knew where to begin. The ship left no trail. It made no sound. It did not fight. It only passed by, left nothing behind. Somewhere deep in space, the silent ship kept moving. Unseen, unheard, but always watching. And something about that ship felt human. The Tsarist Empire believed. It was safe. It had thousands of defense stations. It had fleets of warships. But none of that stopped what came next. Just 12 hours after the silent ship vanished from Watch Station X-12, a message came from the mining world Varex-9. It was a short message, only one sentence. Something is in orbit above us. Then, silence. Varex-9 was home to over 3 million people, miners, engineers, families. The planet was rich in fuel rocks, and the Empire depended on it.
Ow.
When the signal stopped, the control center thought it was just a system failure. That happens sometimes on far planets. Maybe a power line broke, maybe a storm. Nothing serious. They sent a repair ship. The crew of the repair ship, Glancer, was small, just 7 people. They laughed when they got the assignment. Just another tech problem, the captain said. We'll be back before dinner. They reached Varex-9 in 4 hours. At first, everything looked normal. The planet was still there. The sky was clear. But no lights came from the cities. No signals. No messages. Just silence. The captain opened a channel. Varex-9 command. This is Glancer. Respond. No answer. They flew lower, toward the main city, Sharn City. It should have been alive with noise, lights, ships. But it looked empty. The buildings stood like graves. Streets were dark. Not even animals moved. One crew member whispered, "Where is everyone?" The pilot checked the scanner. "I don't see power. I don't see life signs. I don't see anything." Then the Glancer sent one last message back to command. "We found something." It's not the message cut off. Nothing more came. Command tried again and again to contact the repair ship. Nothing. It had vanished, just like the 2 patrol cruisers. That made 3 ships, 3 million people, and 1 whole planet gone. Now the Empire could not ignore it. This was not a system failure. This was not an accident. Something was attacking them, and they didn't even know what it was. Cross. The Empire fear began to grow. The outer systems, trade ships refused to fly. Transport pilots quit their jobs. "We won't fly blind," they said. "We won't vanish like the others." Even pirates ran from the border. One pirate captain sent a message before vanishing. "We saw a shadow moving across the stars, and we ran." The Emperor was furious. "Who dares attack my worlds?" he shouted. But no one could give him a name. No one had seen the enemy. Clearly, it was just a shape. A black shadow. A silent ship. He ordered 10 more patrol ships to scan the Varex system. They arrived, flying in formation. They scanned the entire planet. There were no signs of life. No heat, no power, and still no damage. One officer said it looks like everyone just stopped and disappeared. One of the patrol captains landed to explore the surface. His report was strange. The buildings are untouched. Food is still on tables. Machines are running, but no one is here. It's like they were taken. Then his voice lowered. "I feel like something is watching us. That team never returned." The ship disappeared 3 hours later. The Empire began to hide the truth. From the public, news about Varex-9 was blocked. The missing repair ship was called an accident. The Empire said everything was under control. People knew better. Whispers spread fast. Children drew pictures of a black ship with a red eye. Workers told stories of a ghost ship passing through systems and eating entire worlds. Priests said it was punishment from the stars. Some even said it was not a ship but a curse. Inside the War Council, leaders argued. "It must be a new enemy," one said. "Maybe the Jaren or the Fex Lords." But others disagreed. The Fex send warnings. They make demands. This just comes and takes. Finally, one admiral stood and said, We are not fighting an enemy. We are facing a question, and we don't have an answer yet. The Emperor slammed his fist. Then find me an answer. In the deep silence of space, far from the busy stars of the Empire, the ship still moved. It did not stop. It did not speak. It did not change direction. It passed through space like a shadow over a grave, and wherever it passed, it left nothing behind. The spaceport on Draxos 3 was busy. Ships came and went, people shouted orders, and cargo was loaded. But then a strange alarm rang. A broken freighter drifted slowly into orbit, no lights, no signals, no ID. The control tower sent messages. No answer. 2 scout ships flew out to check. The freighter looked burned and broken, but not from weapons. Its hull was cold, covered in strange dark marks like shadows frozen in metal. One scout pilot said, "It's like the ship passed through a nightmare." When they opened the docking bay, they found only one person alive. He was sitting on the floor, holding his head, shaking like a leaf in the wind. His eyes were wide. His body was covered in bruises. He had not eaten. He had not slept. It looked like he had been screaming for days. They brought him to the medical room. He didn't speak. He didn't move. His name was Rowland Vor, the second officer of the freighter Mora's Run. The ship's log showed the last. Destination near Virex-9. When the doctors tried to ask questions, he only cried. No answers, just fear. The commander of Draxos 3 demanded answers. What happened? Where's your crew? Hours passed. Finally, Rowland spoke. Just 2 words. It watches. The doctor leaned in. What watches, Rowland? What do you mean? Rowland whispered. It doesn't make sound. It doesn't chase. It only watches. And when it does, people disappear. He began drawing on the wall. Over and over again, he drew the same thing. A black ship, shaped like a spear, with one glowing red circle at the front. No. Always the eye. One officer said, he's lost his mind. But another whispered he saw it. The silent ship. Empire's scientists scanned the freighter. Nothing made sense. There were no signs of attack, no laser burns. The ship's systems were untouched. But the logs were gone, erased. As if the memory of the ship had been eaten, the engines had no power. But the ship still moved when found. Some said it had drifted, others said it was pushed. But by what? Rowland sat in the corner of his room, rocking slowly. He said something new. It came from the dark. It opened a door in space. It didn't need to break, and it just appeared. Now, whispers became fear. Even in the high cities of the Empire, people started to worry. Now children had nightmares of red eyes watching them. Priests said the eye ship was the spirit of the humans long dead, now returned. A history keeper on one moon station remembered something. A ship like this was once drawn by ancient human survivors. 200 years ago, before the humans were wiped out by the Empire, he shared the image. A long black ship with a red glowing eye. The match was perfect. The news spread fast. Even though the Empire tried to stop it, was the silent ship human? Possible, they said. Humanity was destroyed. Their homeworld burned, their fleets crushed. No survivors, but Rowland kept saying, it remembers. It remembers us. And it never stopped watching. A strange energy signature was found deep in Empire space. Scientists tried to explain it, but couldn't. It's like gravity bent wrong, one said. Like something heavy is nearby, but invisible. A ship was sent to scan the area. It vanished. Now the War Council met again. This is no accident, said Admiral Corrin. Face something that doesn't want peace. It doesn't want war. It just wants us. It's gone. The Emperor stayed silent. He looked out the window toward the stars. Send the fleet, he finally said. We need to show strength. But we don't know what we're facing, one commander said. The Emperor's voice was cold. Then find out. Or be next. Meanwhile, Rowland stopped speaking. He had one final message before he fell into silence again. It doesn't come to destroy, it comes to erase. Doctors tried to wake him. Nothing worked. His brain scans showed. Something strange parts of his memory were gone, as if carefully removed. He didn't forget. It was taken, The Empire now had one survivor, one drawing, and one message. That was all. And somewhere in the dark, the silent ship kept moving, watching, choosing its next target, and every time it passed, nothing was left behind. The Emperor was done waiting. 3 ships lost, a whole planet gone, a survivor driven mad. And now the fear was spreading. People were leaving border worlds. Soldiers were refusing to patrol. Even high-level officers whispered of curses and ghosts. The Empire was strong, but fear was growing faster than orders could control. The War Council agreed. It was time to strike. Admiral Korik was chosen to lead the mission. He was known as the Hammer of Zarn, a war hero who had destroyed 5 enemy fleets. He didn't believe in ghosts, believed in firepower. The Emperor gave him 30 of the Empire's strongest warships. Battle cruisers, destroyers, stealth corvettes, every ship loaded with the best weapons. His mission was clear. Find the silent ship. Destroy it. The fleet jumped into the Varex system, near where the freighter had last been seen. Their scanners were active.
Out weapons.
Weapons charged. Shields at full power. Thousands of crew members stood ready, hands near buttons, eyes on screens. For hours, there was nothing, just empty space. Then one ship reported a flicker like something moved between the stars. Another ship saw a shadow that wasn't there. Before the fleet changed formation, spreading out into a wide circle, Admiral Korik sat on his command chair, calm but sharp. "If it's hiding, we'll flush it out," he said. "No ship can escape 30 eyes." He was wrong. One of the destroyers, Zarn's Glory, went silent. No explosion, no signal. 1 second it was on the screen, then it was gone. "Report," Korik shouted. No one had an answer. Then a second ship vanished. And a third. There were no alarms. No enemy fire, just silence. A shadow would pass near. A ship and it would disappear. Panic started to grow. "They're being taken." One officer shouted. "We're next. Hold formation." Korik barked. "We don't run." But the shadow kept moving slow and patient. Didn't rush. It didn't need to. One by one, it erased ships as if they were dust. One brave scout ship tried to fly toward the shadow. It activated all its scanners and weapons. For a moment, its cameras picked up something, a long black shape with no engines, no windows, just a giant red eye on its front. The pilot screamed, "It sees us!" Then the signal ended. The footage reached Admiral Korik's screen. For the first time, his face changed. The ship looked like it had no beginning or end. It wasn't flying, it was floating like it had always been there. Korik gave the order. Fire everything. Every ship launched missiles, laser beams, plasma cannons all at the same spot. Space lit up with fire and light. Explosions burned for minutes. The stars disappeared behind the glow. Then it stopped. The smoke cleared. The ship was still there, not scratched, not moved, just watching. Suddenly, a strange message appeared on every ship's screen, not sent by any of them. It was a video feed. A wide shot of the fleet from above, from the point of view of the silent ship. Someone or something was watching them. Then ships began vanishing faster. 5 at once, then 6. The command ship was surrounded by red warning lights. "We're next," screamed the weapons officer. Admiral Korik stared at the screen. His voice was low. "It's not a ship. It's not a weapon. It's judgment." Then his ship vanished too. The Empire lost contact with the entire fleet. 30 ships gone. Only one video remained. It came from a signal relay in deep orbit, outside the battle zone. The video showed the black ship in the center of space, surrounded by nothing. The ships were gone. No wrecks, no escape pods, no floating debris, just emptiness. The video ended with one final image. The red eye turning slowly toward the camera, then the screen going black. The Emperor watched the recording in silence. Around him, his advisors stood frozen. One whispered, "We can't fight this." Another said, "We don't even understand it." For the first time in the Empire's long history, the War Council had no orders to give. The Emperor stood slowly. His voice was cold. "If this is war, it's not like any war we've ever fought. It's far away, deep in the cold space beyond. Known systems, The silent ship floated through the stars. It did not speak, it did not stop, and with every fleet it passed, it left nothing behind. A message suddenly appeared across the Empire's systems. Every screen blinked, every broadcast stopped. Every voice was silence, except one. A cold human voice spoke in the center of the Empire. The voice said, "You made us. You forgot. Us. We remember." It wasn't a voice the Empire recognized. It didn't belong to any leader, any species, or any known enemy. It sounded human, clear, slow, and full of quiet anger. The message played again and again across every planet, ship, and station. Even devices not connected to the network began to show it. People panicked. Some screamed. Others just stared. The screen showed only one image, a black ship with a red glowing eye. Then the voice returned. "This ship is called Silent Wrath. It is not a weapon. It is a memory, a truth you tried to bury, but memories cannot die." Inside the Imperial Palace, the Emperor stood frozen. The War Council demanded to know how the message got past their defenses. "This isn't possible," a technician yelled. "Our systems are locked. Our networks are closed." Still, the message kept playing. "We are not a fleet. We are not an army. We are what was left behind. Now we have returned." Some officers looked at each other, afraid. Others began searching old records. One name appeared again and again in the files: Earth. A world destroyed 200 years ago, a species once called human. The Empire had wiped them out. Long ago, or so they thought. But now, a voice from that past had returned and it controlled their entire communication network. In a small lab on the moon station Arkelos, a young data engineer named Farah broke into a secret archive. She had heard the voice and remembered her grandfather's stories, stories of humans, stories the Empire had banned. What she found shocked: her Earth had not attacked the Empire. It had begged for peace. Old recordings showed humans speaking to Empire diplomats. They asked to be left alone. They offered friendship, trade, knowledge. But the Empire had refused. It needed new territory. It needed resources. And most of all, it needed to show the galaxy that weakness would not be allowed. So Earth was marked for destruction. Not because of danger, but because of fear. Because humans were different. Because humans could not be controlled. The Empire erased Earth with a secret superweapon. The event was never made public. Few who survived were hunted. The last human ship escaped into deep space. Everyone thought it had vanished. But now, Farah believed it had survived. It had become the Silent Wrath. Back in the palace, the voice continued. "You thought silence was the end, but silence remembers. Silence watches. And silence waits." People across the Empire began to speak the name human again, quietly, carefully. Some remembered the old stories. Some now believed the humans were never the monsters the Empire claimed. One general stood in the War Council and said, "We've made a mistake. We fought at people who wanted peace. And now, their ghost has returned." Another general disagreed. "No, this is just a trick. One ship cannot defeat an empire." But that same day, another planet went silent. No signs of battle, no screams, just nothing. Every time the black ship appeared, it never fired. It never spoke, but whole cities vanished. Systems shut down. People disappeared. The voice was never heard again after that first message. Only the red eye remained, glowing in the dark. The Emperor ordered all fleets to return to the core worlds. "Protect the capital," he said. "Protect the throne." But many captains never made it back. Some turned off their comms and ran. Others simply vanished mid-jump. Fear was stronger than loyalty. In the shadows of the Empire, small groups began to rise. Rebels, truth-seekers. People who believed the old records were true. People who now saw the humans not as monsters, but as victims. They called the ship justice. They called it memory. And they whispered, "Maybe it is not here to kill. Maybe it is here to remind us of what we did." But whether it was revenge, justice, or something else, no one could stop it. It moved without sound. It struck without warning. It always. It left nothing behind, on a cold and forgotten moon called Sorel 1. Deep in the Empire's outer ring, a rebel team broke into a hidden bunker. It was old, very old. Dust covered the walls. The doors groaned open after 200 years of silence. Inside, they found something the Empire had tried to erase forever, the personal war log of Admiral Histaro, the man who led the attack on Earth. The rebels were quiet as they played the files. A shaky, gray-haired man appeared on screen. The voice was calm, but tired. "If you're watching this," he said, "then the Empire's lie has cracked. You deserve the truth." No. For the next hour, the rebels listened in silence. Admiral Histaro explained how Earth had begged for peace. Sent diplomats, scientists, even children to the Empire's capital. They came in peace, full of hope. They wanted friendship. They offered everything: technology, knowledge, even military support. But the Empire saw fear in that offer. Humans were too adaptable, too creative, too independent. The high rulers decided humans would not follow orders, they would rise. And if they rose, they could not be controlled. So a plan was made not for war, but for extermination. Earth was chosen as a target for the Empire's new weapon, a system-wide bomb. A single launch? One planet. Complete silence? No warning was given, no declaration, no mercy. Earth died in minutes. Billions of lives gone. Histaro's voice shook now. "I gave the order," he said. "I told myself it was for the Empire. But I was wrong. We didn't stop monsters. We became them." He paused. His eyes looked straight into the camera. "We thought we'd erase them, but one ship escaped. I saw it myself. I let it go. Maybe I knew. Maybe I hoped it would return someday." Then the screen went black. The rebels copied the files and sent them across secret channels. In just hours, the truth spread like wildfire. Hidden voices across the Empire woke up. Miners, soldiers, pilots, farmers, all of them heard the truth. And once they heard it, they could never forget it. The Empire had lied. Earth did not start a war. Humanity was murdered, back in the capital. The Emperor watched the same file in silence. He didn't speak. He didn't deny it. He just sat in his chair, the red light from the silent ship's image glowing across his face. Advisors shouted, "This is rebel propaganda. We must punish anyone who shares this." But more news arrived. Ships were refusing orders. Some soldiers threw down their weapons. Entire worlds began turning off Empire broadcasts. The lie was dying, and the ship, the silent wrath, was still moving. It was now heading straight toward the Empire's core worlds. It had passed 10 systems. Each one was gone, not destroyed. Just empty satellite images showed cities with food still on tables, drinks half finished, machines still running, but no people. No blood, just silence. One message was left behind, always the same, etched into the ground or flashing on a screen: "You erased us. We return the favor." The Empire tried to build a final wall of defense. They placed their best weapons in orbit around the capital planet. Shield satellites, automated defense drones, gravity traps, AI-controlled missile rings. It wouldn't matter. Deep in the stars, the silent wrath kept coming. The rebels, now calling themselves the Children of Earth, broadcast the truth to everyone. They didn't beg. They didn't ask for war. They only said, "Remember what was done." And millions did. On ships, in homes, in city towers, people repeated a single phrase: "This silence has a voice now." Some believed the ship was only here for justice. Others feared it would erase everything. And some secretly hoped it would. They saw what the Empire truly was, what it had become. And maybe, just maybe, they believed the humans had been right all along. Now, the black ship floated at the edge of the Empire's final defenses. It did not speak. It did not stop. It only waited, and every second it remained was one more second of fear. Because now the Empire knew the past doesn't forget, and silence always returns, and wherever it passes, leaves nothing behind. The capital planet of the Empire, Zarn Prime, was the most protected place in the galaxy. It had orbital cannons larger than cities, defense rings that could destroy whole fleets. Thousands of fighters waited in the sky, and the ground was covered. In shield generators, force walls, and warbots, no enemy had ever reached it. No enemy had ever tried, until now. The silent wrath appeared just outside the system. It didn't come fast, didn't cloak itself. It simply arrived. Quiet, cold, unstoppable. The moment it entered sensor range, every alarm on Zarn Prime went off. Red lights flashed across the sky. Pilots ran to their ships. The High Fleet launched to meet the threat. Hundreds of ships flew, forward in perfect lines. A voice echoed through the command center. Target in sight. Fire on my command. The order was given. Thousands of missiles launched. Beams of light cut through space. The sky turned white with fire. But when the light faded, the black ship was still there. Not a scratch. No damage. Just that red eye. Watching, Admiral Vaughn, commander of the capital's fleet, shouted, "Again! All weapons!" The Empire's most powerful cannons fired, super lasers, ion storms. Everything. Still nothing. One by one, ships began to vanish, just like before. The silent wrath didn't move. It didn't dodge. It just looked. Ships were erased. Not exploded, not broken, just gone. Admiral Vaughn's ship trembled. Crew screamed. He tried to run. His last message was, "It sees us." Then silence. Capital Fleet was no more. Now, the ship moved slowly toward Zarn Prime. Shields activated across the planet. Owls of energy brighter than suns wrapped around the cities. Cannons aimed at the sky. Billions of people watched the skies from windows. Streets, bunkers. The Emperor stood in his palace, staring at the sky. "How far can one ship go?" he whispered. His guards said nothing. The silent wrath entered the planet's orbit. It hovered over the main city. No weapons fired from it. No soldiers came out. No message. Just the eye. Glowing red dots suddenly. Power. Across the planet flickered. Shields failed. Cannons shut down then. Silence came. It was like the sound of space itself had wrapped around the planet. People looked at each other in panic. Tried to speak, but their voices felt small. Useless. Air felt heavier. Lights dimmed, and then people began to vanish. Not just soldiers. Everyone, one by one. People blinked out of existence. Some tried to run, some tried to pray. Others simply stood still, eyes full of fear. Entire buildings became empty. Markets, homes, towers, gone. The Emperor watched as his city faded, his hands. He reached for his command. No signal. He called his guards. No answer. He opened the window and looked outside. No one. Streets empty. Sky dark. City cold. Just silence. He sat in his great chair, once the seat of a ruler, who controlled 1,000 stars and waited, but nothing came. The red glow of the ship filled the sky, and then the palace faded. To no explosions, no sound, just stillness. The Empire's capital was gone. Across the galaxy, millions of people watched in shock. The strongest world had fallen without a single shot. Some wept. Some cheered. Some fell to their knees and whispered thanks to the stars, because now they knew the truth. The humans had returned, not as conquerors, not as monsters, but as a reminder. A memory of what had been done. The silent wrath left orbit. It floated slowly into deep space, leaving behind a world with no life, no power, no ruler, a dead star and a dead sky. Rebel groups rose quickly. Without the Emperor, the government collapsed. Former enemies of the Empire began to join, not to fight the ship, but to spread the message. A single sentence echoed across 1,000 systems. This is what happens when mercy is betrayed. And still, out there in the dark, the silent wrath moved. It never stopped. It never rested. It never forgot. And every time it arrived, it left nothing behind. The empire was gone. The once great cities, the shining palaces, the endless fleets all turned to silence. No more commands, no more armies, no more rulers, only the cold stars above and the memory of what had happened. Where Zarn Prime had once glowed bright in the heart of the galaxy, now there was only darkness. No lights, no signals. The sky around it was empty. Trade routes were abandoned, maps were useless. Ships that passed nearby changed course. No one dared enter that space again. But one thing remained. A single satellite floated where the planet used to be old, small, and harmless. Its lights blinked slowly, and it sent one repeating message into space, again and again, on all frequencies. We asked for peace. You answered with fire. Now we answer with silence. Some believe the satellite had been left behind on purpose. A warning, reminder. Others said it was just the last thing the silent wrath allowed to survive. Either way, it became the most watched object in the galaxy. Every ship, every traveler, every curious explorer stopped to read its words, and none went farther. Far. Across the stars, beyond any known chart, the silent wrath floated in deep space. It had no home, no base. It did not need fuel, did not sleep. Its red eye stayed open, always watching. It had passed through dozens of star systems. It had erased planets, fleets, rulers. But it had never killed with hate. It never spoke of revenge. It simply reminded the galaxy of what had been done, of what silence could become. In old colonies and distant worlds, stories of the humans began to grow again. They were not called monsters anymore. Now they were called the Forgotten Flame. Some built statues and secret simple ones of human faces looking at the stars. Movement started, quiet at first. They called themselves the Remembered. They did not follow the silent wrath. No one did. The ship belonged to no one, but they carried its message. They taught truth. They wrote books. They kept records of Earth and its people. One child on a farming moon said, "The ship doesn't want to destroy. It wants us to remember." Some feared it would return. Others hoped it would. Because in its silence, there was something more than just death. There was justice. There was warning. And maybe there was forgiveness. One day, a deep space exploration. Ship found an old probe floating beyond the edge of the galaxy. Inside, they found a message. Not a threat. Not a curse. Just a voice. A human voice. It said, "If you are hearing this, then we are gone. But our memory lives. Let it be enough. Let it stop here. We do not hate. We do not wish to rule. Hate. But we will never be erased again." The voice was calm, sad but proud, and then the probe shut off. After that day, the silent wrath was not seen again. No one knew if it had finished its mission, or if it simply waited, watching. Some believed it still floated beyond the stars, guarding the edges of the galaxy. Silent guardian, silent judge. And the galaxy changed. Empires grew more careful. Leaders thought twice before starting wars. Because now they knew even silence can speak. Even the forgotten can return. And even one ship can shake the stars. From that day forward, all who saw the stars remembered one truth, whispered in every corner of space. A silent ship passed through the empire and left nothing behind. But its message remains forever.